Are you either designing a new service for the homeless that you would like to offer and get funding for, or are you trying to improve the current overall services in which you are administering to the homeless? In today's podcast, Army of Tuck, I'm Friar Tuck. Thank you for joining me. We're going to be talking about designing homeless services that work. And I have come up with what I consider to be 4 requirements or 4 pillars that you should use to be able to govern the design of your overall service that you are looking at offering to the homeless. Because there's a plethora of services or things that you can do to be able to assist the homeless, to be able to do good within the homeless community and make an impact. So if we were trying to figure out how to design it, what are the basic fundamentals that we need to consider when doing that? And so of these 4 requirements, we have a realistic approach. What problem are you going to solve? Is it already done, and what your goals for success are? And that's what we're going to be talking about today in today's podcast. So let's talk about the first one. What is a realistic approach? Okay, when you're looking at the homeless situation, a lot of people don't really understand or have any lived experience out here. And just because you have lived experience doesn't mean you actually understand homelessness to the level in which you're trying to make the change. Because if you've been homeless for less than 5 years of total homelessness, then you probably don't really understand all of the different things that the homeless have to go through. Because if you're able to get off the streets pretty quick, like within 3 to 6 months or less than a year, your experience not only is different, but you don't really get to go through the cycle that a lot of homeless have to go through. And a larger percentage, the more often you become homeless, the longer each stint is. My average time was, less than a year. I was usually off the streets within about 3 to 6 months. However, there's been a few times where I've been at a year and a half. Now I'm sitting at 2 years, and so on and so forth. But I have, out of 25 years, I've got about 10 to 15 years of total homelessness living out on the streets, whether it be just for a few months or in this experience 2 years plus. Okay, so when taking a realistic approach, you have to be able to think about those people that have been out for the longest, because when you're trying to make an impact, the people that are coming out, you've already got to have your services that are already honed in that will help those people get off the streets quicker. And if you're really good at that, then the next thing that you really need to consider is those that are experiencing long-term homelessness, because there's a point where you've given up, where you're starting to say certain things, your attitude changes, you lose hope. There's all kinds of different emotions that you go through over the stage of long-term homelessness. I know that when I did a year and a half one time, that was towards the end of it, I was considering doing the Polk Street Shuffle. Now, it's not something that I did, but you get to that point where you're just like, I will do anything for a roof over my head. And then the things that you're willing to do just to put a roof over your head, to the average housed person, is something that they don't really get. Okay, but when you've been in a position where you're that desperate, where you're just like, I want some peace, the ability for you to compromise your morals and to do things that you would otherwise not do comes into play. And so when you're dealing with people, especially when you're dealing with people that have been long-term homeless, you're definitely going to have to consider a more realistic approach. Not everybody's coming out and says, oh, I want to get off the streets. Sometimes you've come out 2, 3, 4 times where you're just like, I'm not going to even try anymore. Okay, so again, you need to be able to have a realistic approach that the people that you are going to be administering are going to be at various stages of homelessness, whether it be the initial stages of shock, or whether it be the once you come to terms just trying to get a job and get off the streets, to the people like me who just like, we've given up on actually finding permanent housing, because every time we get something going, it all falls apart. Okay, So this is something that as somebody that is looking at designing services, you need to really have a realistic approach and have a true understanding of the type of people that you are trying to serve. Not just the lowest common denominator, but what about all of these people that are coming out that that have not developed a drug addiction? What about the people that have come out and have not developed a mental health issue? Are you really trying to help those people, or who exactly are you trying to help? Okay. So taking a realistic approach to what it is that you are looking at creating, and how you're going to administer and make it so that it benefits not only those that are coming out, because you need to get them off the streets as quick as possible, but also those that have been out here for the longest period of time. Because the longer that you're out here, so I've been out here for 2 years, statistically, now that I've reached this point, it will be another 3 years before I have another opportunity to get off the streets. So I'm looking at 5 years, and even though I'm struggling and pushing to be able to get off the streets, it's something that that statistically the odds are stacked against me the longer that I'm out here. And that's kind of the realistic approach that you should be looking at when you are considering the types of services that you're going to offer. What is really going to benefit somebody in that situation? And then the second one is, what problem are you going to solve? Now, there's lots of problems within the homeless community. Some problems that they refuse to talk about. Some problems that they want to beat to death like a dead horse. Okay. One of the things that I think that people fail to realize is that you can put somebody in a house. You can give somebody a job. But are you really fixing their homelessness? Are you taking preventative measures to be able to not only fix the situation in which the individual is in, but also to make sure that they have all of the tools to prevent it from happening again? And now you may say, oh, well, there's mental health. Well, you know what? Not all of it is mental health. And the mental health industry is so busy trying to diagnose people that they've gotten to a point where they're misdiagnosing more people than they're actually diagnosing. Yes, there's schizophrenia. Yes, there's bipolar. Yes, there's other things, but there are also underlying issues that are making that worse. And so, yes, you may be having a chemical imbalance, but what about the character defects? What about the personality defects that you have? Or that the individual has, that is also making that whole mental health issue much worse. And so without actually doing preventative types of work that actually helps put the person back together, not only mentally, but maybe give them the education they need. Being poor with money is something that's very common out here. And so being able to have some sort of skills to help you to be able to manage your money better, to be able to create some sort of discipline, to be able to show you that even while you're out on the streets, you can still save money. When you do things like that, and you're solving those problems by teaching people basic life skills that either their parents didn't teach them or they just never took seriously, and now their life consequences that are forcing them to the point where they have to learn this. Okay, so what problem are you trying to solve? And just by solving that problem, are you actually solving the problem? So, for example, housing first. I was getting a lot of trouble because I talk against housing first. I think that it's being co-opted and corrupted to be used in a way that actually does not benefit the homeless, but still enriches a lot of not-for-profits and NGOs and those that offer services to the homeless. Okay. Because what happens when you put somebody in a dwelling? Okay, they still have their issues. Okay, so if they are dealing with depression, if they are missing 4 out of the 7 of their activities of daily living, and therefore they're destroying property, is anything really being fixed? Because you still have to wait for them to want to be fixed, and so on and so forth. And you've got all of these obstacles, and you're thinking, well, hey, we fixed homelessness, we put people in houses. Some people are meant to be housed and some people aren't. Okay, I'm not really meant to be housed. Mentally, it does not do me well being housed. But other people, they really need to be housed. Okay, so really, when you're thinking about what problem you're trying to solve, understand not only the underlying the underlying consequences and the different things that actually happen to bring a person to that point, because you need to be able to fix that in order to be able to give them a viable solution. Okay, and then the third one is it already done? So there's a lot of places that want to Hold on a second. Okay. There are a lot of places out there that want to sit back and do things that already been done. Okay, resume class, a perfect example. Well, I want to do a resume class. Well, who offers the resume class? The resume class is offered by the library. They get funding for it. It's an appropriate venue because it doesn't just benefit the homeless. It benefits those that don't have the education. They have a place to go. So therefore, it's all-encompassing, and it's not directly focused at the homeless. And so therefore, they will have somebody that will be able to help them, figure things out. So is it already being done? Yes or no? If it is being done, what is it that you're going to do that's going to change it? So, for example, if I was doing a resume class, another thing that I would be doing is going out within the community and finding places that are hiring, and tell them what are you looking for on your resume, so on and so forth. And then what you're doing is those that are coming in to build the resume, you're also providing them with connections within the local community so that they can get a job. And because you know what they need on that resume in order to qualify, because you've sat down and you've had that conversation with the employer, now you can assist somebody in tailoring a resume that will be effective and actually give them a better chance of getting the job, because you made sure to take care of a few things. And then they can also put you down as a referral, but that way the hiring manager already knows, okay, I've talked to this person, I'm expecting them to send people to me, and so therefore I'm expecting a qualified and quality candidate, versus just throwing crap up against the wall. So again, you'll have to build a reputation. Just because it's already being done doesn't mean that you cannot do it better. Okay, and what is that going to do? That's going to force a lot of other changes within that whole category, because now all these places that are offering resume building, because they see it's being done differently with you, now they have to pick it up in order for competition, because now the government will say, well, we've got this organization over here, they're doing this, and they've even suggested that we give funding for only programs that do this, and we agree with them because we now have an increase in our tax base, because we're now getting qualified individuals back to work. And so therefore you have the ability to make those changes. So just because it's already being done does not necessarily mean that it is something that cannot be done. But you've got to look at it, how can you make it better instead of just doing the same thing that everybody else is doing? Because the same thing that everybody else is doing isn't working. The homeless crisis is going through the roof, okay? And then, what, the last one is, what are your goals for success? Okay, goals for success are extremely important. One program is not going to fix all of homelessness. Okay, one program is going to make a dent. What is that dent that you want to make? Is it to assist people in their mental stability in a way that isn't focused more on like mental health treatment, but more about grooming and building a strong content of character, something that, fixing maybe certain character defects that are causing them problems, doing preventative care, things like that. So if I were creating a program, one of the most important things that I would be looking at, especially my goals for success, is effectiveness. What percentage of people that are coming to see me are getting whatever connections that they need? Are those connections actually benefiting the individual and putting them in a position to where they will most likely be able to avoid homelessness the next time a situation like that comes down? Because now I'm equipping them with tools. Now, did I fix homelessness? Not exactly. But am I doing my part to fix homeless? Yes. Now, if you have other not-for-profits, other NGOs that actually offer some sort of what you would call, if in competition, they are able to sit there and take what's going on to be able to do their part, within a couple of generations, not only could we fix homelessness, but it would probably turn our society around with the sickness and all the other stuff that we've got going on, because see one, do one, teach one. So just as the NGOs are teaching you basic personality skills, basic skills that you need to be able to function within society, to be able to be cohesive within society, and to help you with improving your decision-making processes, because, maybe going and buying that $20 pizza wasn't a good idea when you should have been putting it aside because you might, it's going to be a cold winter, and you're already struggling to hit your electric bill. Okay, so things like that. That's really, you're really wanting to look at what the long-term effect is, and I think that a lot of people, when you're looking at your long-term goals, you need to look at what it is that you're implementing and what it is that you're trying to create, and ask what the cause and effect are. Figure out what the intended and unintended consequences are. For example, this whole thing about Grants Pass. What it is, the unintended consequences is now you've got cities that have been chomping at the bit to get rid of their homeless population because they don't really want to be responsible. And so therefore, from some of the people that are actually there in Grants Pass that are subscribers are telling me that the local homeless shelter went on the side of the city and the businesses instead of defending its clients, the homeless, because its unintended consequences may have been that they were thinking that if they could get this whole thing to go through, that it would force Grants Pass to pay more money to be able to have more homeless shelters, which meant that they would make more money. So therefore, they made a calculated risk, and that calculated risk, if this be true, if this be what they were really trying to do, that calculated risk has brought it to a point to where it now backfires in their face, and now they're doing more harm than good. And the sad part is within not only the homeless industrial complex, but just within those people and within the whole system, because there's really not a thought process about the unintended consequences, the intended consequences, the cause and effect of certain actions. Because now you've taken some people that were trying to get back up on their feet, or at least basically exist. Well, society was taking a crap on them, and now all of a sudden they're having to duck and play hide and go seek. Instead of being able to feel safe when they sleep, be able to feel safe when they're just walking around town. And so now you have this targeted this targeted policies that are coming directly after homeless and other individuals. So again, it's always important to look at the goals in which you're trying to do, and you should really ask yourself, how is this going to solve homelessness? How is this going to be one of the many things that we need to reach, that we need to do in order to solve homelessness? Okay, because eventually, what will happen is when you get to a point where you have enough of these not-for-profits that offer services for the homeless, is that the government, in its wisdom, hopefully, will look at all of the programs that are working and why they're working, and be able to kind of figure out, okay, now we can sit there and say in every single city they need to offer these services to do homeless prevention, homeless care, and to be able to get their people back to being productive citizens as soon as possible, because of the negative effects and consequences that it has on society, with crime, with property value, with destruction of property, with the destruction of the human being, the medical and health costs that it's going to cost, and all these different things. So let's do a little exercise before I close this out. And I'm going to take a moment to kind of plug the channel a little bit. So I am Friar Tuck, and this is the Epoch of Friar Tuck. This is my podcast called The Army of Tuck. And so what I do is the main people, the main audience that I am pandering to are those of you that offer homeless services or want a deeper understanding of how we can fix the homeless issue, whether you have the ability to influence policy or the ability to introduce policy and legislation through the connections in which you have, or again, you're just servicing the homeless. So you have different ways if you would like to contribute, because I work on crowdfunding. I'm homeless, and again, like I said, 2 years, and so I work off of crowdfunding. So if you want to help me out, all you have to do is go down in the description. I have my Patreon links. I have my different membership subscriptions. I have my tip jars. I have my affiliate links. Whatever it is that, whatever way is most comfortable for you, and what type of access you want to be able to have to me, All of that can be found down in the description, and I do encourage you to come down there and check it out, and even maybe get some of my merch. The Be the Solution, the Homeless States of America, that is for those of you that are doing the podcast. I think that is a shirt that really represents this podcast, Being the Solution. Okay, so let's go ahead and go through a quick scenario now that I've done my own plug. Let's use something that I've that's been approached to me, or been brought to me by somebody that you guys all know if you follow me on my long form videos and my live streams that I do every night at 7. You guys know that my business development manager through the Homeless Entrepreneur, which is an NGO, an international NGO that is assisting me in really like maintaining and building my platform that I'm doing. But you guys know Ayana was talking about doing a resume class. She wanted to do something to help people get jobs because she thought, and I'm sure that her intents were pure and everything else like that. And we sat back and we talked about it. And by using these 4 different requirements, I was able to really help her break down what the weaknesses were of what she was trying to do, what the strengths were, so on and so forth. So one of the things was a realistic approach. You're trying to help people, do resumes. Resumes aren't going to be a thing in the future. We're moving into the digital economy. So to be a great resource to give somebody a platform and a way to be able to push off and build themselves within the digital economy, that's something that is realistic, that is forward thinking, that will help the homeless of today become the not homeless of the future. Okay, so taking a realistic approach, maybe doing a resume class isn't really going to work. What would really work is being able to teach and educate people how to get involved in the digital economy and all the different ways in which you can do it. And then what problem are we trying to solve? Well, if it were me and if I were looking at this, the whole reason why I would be trying to solve this problem is because the workforce is being automated by advanced robotics and artificial intelligence. A lot of people, a lot of these skills are going to go away as far as demand. And so the economy of the future is going to change. And so the problem that I would want to solve is that those that are willing and prepared to make the transition into the new economy, I want to be part of the solution that they have to be able to take advantage of the digital economy of the future. Okay, so that would be a problem that I was trying to solve. And is it already done? A resume class is already being done. Again, it's being done by the library. Why would you want to go and repeat what the library is doing? They're already getting funding for it. You don't need more funding for it. It's good money after bad. It's not a really viable program. However, the digital economy side of it, now that's never been done. This will make a huge change within the homeless services that are being offered to the homeless, because you'll be not only the first, but you get to also be the poster child for how to be able to help the homeless get the jobs of the future, and that you're now preparing those that really need the help to be able to have the jobs and the work of the future. Okay, so again, that and then goals for success. My goal, if I were to run something like this, my goal for success would be that I have an 80% success rate of educating people, getting them started, and then getting them putting money in their pocket. Even if it's a couple $100, once you put a couple $100 in their pocket, it's off to the races. Because once you learn that you can make money through the digital economy, and you realize how much easier it is, now it does require hard work, but a different type of hard work. Okay, now that you realize how much easier it is, you're going to be motivated to do it. And so whether you decide to be homeless for the rest of your life or not, you now have options because you've been given the tools so that you can go out and fish instead of waiting for somebody to hand you something and feed you for the day. Okay, so it's extremely, as far as goals for success, that's what I would be looking at. Now, there's going to be people that fail, but that also means the vetting process If you have drug addiction, okay, how far along are you in your recovery? These are going to be some prerequisites that I would need to know. Okay, what is your motivation? Why do you want to do this? Because I need somebody that's hungry, and so therefore you get to go through and cherry pick a lot of the people in the beginning, because you need to be able to create a case study of what the ideal candidate would look like and how they would be able to get some sort of traction, okay? Because this is going to play not only into your funding, but it's also going to play into your PR and the reputation in which you have, okay? And then you want to start opening the door of like, okay, we've got this class, but before you can get in there, if you're dealing with addiction, what we're going to do is we're going to give you a case manager that's going to assist you in getting the connections you need within the city so that you can be prepared. And we want to help you meet the prerequisites, and that may mean being clean and sober, or at least being a functional addict at a bare minimum. Being able to keep a schedule, to be able to show up on time and things like that. And so therefore you create case managers. And so now all of a sudden you had the success, you're able to get funding on the success, and now you're grooming and preparing people to be able to have the best opportunities possible. And so that would be my goal, and something that I would do to set up if I were to do something like this. Now, that's why these four pillars, or these four requirements, are so important on, if you're looking at offering services to the homeless and providing that type of stuff. So you guys know how to help out the podcast. Become a subscriber if you're not. Love to hear your thoughts down there. If you think I missed anything. Also, everything else is down in the description. Tip jar, subscriptions, all of that stuff. And if you would like to be able to sit back and pick my brain and let me do some consulting for you, you will have to reach out to me via my website or my email, which is friartuck@hobotuck.com. Until next week, thanks for watching The Army of Tuck.